Right. Did everybody have a juicy experience? Yeah, yeah. The fun of creation. We're doing it all the time. It's like, but to become conscious of what's operative, to become conscious of what's going on, so that we have a sense of connection with that creative process. That creative process is arising, looking like something in what we call out there, but the arising is in our own consciousness, and that's the fun, I think, of incarnating. Actually, we've mostly been tied into and concerned with the limitation of the incarnation, and that was because, and is because, we believe that we are a body mind, instead of having the correction that we have a body mind. And so the distinction between who I am and what I have is that's the intersection between being awake and still being caught in fear. The body mind is the vehicle, the vessel, we might say, of the fear-based concerns, the fear that comes from an early wounding, probably reincarnational aspects of identities that are brought into this particular incarnation. But what it does is it creates focus and attention on the body mind, when in fact, the truth of who we are is the awareness of that. And from that perspective, we can start to have fun, be free, and move easily in this 3D reality. Collectively, 8 billion, I think now, something like that. 8 billion people believing that they are the body mind. Did somebody offer something? And believing that they are the body mind, and that is at risk. And then all of the adaptive behaviors that come along with that narrow, distorted perception creates a collective reality on this planet of, well, the collective reality is one of defendedness, one of concern, one of caution. And so that the experience of aliveness is not so available. In the awakening process, I always think of it as a quarter of a turn. It's like if you're looking at something and it looks like a narrow line, and then you move around and to the other side of it, and it looks like a wall. It's kind of like we live with the wall of our body-mind unit identity, when in fact it's spacious all around that. And if there's anything left, it's that thin line of one edge of that. And as we come home to ourselves and experience fully the ease and the peace and the presence of who I am, then that frequency, and this is the magic in it all, that frequency of being kind to yourself, of being on your own side, that frequency creates heaven on earth, because this is a frequency reality. And so this is the work that we do at this most personal level of the feeling of limitation and the identity with being a person who has limitations, that has aspirations that can never be fulfilled, the person that's caught in anxiety and fear and has a body that's taken the hit of that anxiety and fear, and now is revealing what's been going on, our sense of being against ourselves throughout this lifetime and prior ones. So we have the possibility now, because of technology, which I love this technology, in the room, on the screen, and on the big screen. It's awfully so fun. But so what we do together here is to reflect back to each other that we do not hold ourselves as victim or as limited to this persona, this body-mind unit. that we are knowing ourselves because we are aware of this body-mind unit, this technology, this room. We know that we are the awareness of it, and the objects that we are aware of will come and go in our experience. An object like, say, a limited financial condition, an object like looking for the partner, the love interest, and not finding it, an object like a story about how my family doesn't include me, or how I was brought up as a child. We call that the early childhood wounding. All of those are stories which can be considered as objects. And as long as that's what's running the show, then we are a character in that play. But in any moment, and all of us have had this experience, we pop out of that character in that play, and we know ourselves as the awareness of it. And that's the trick. If there's a trick to waking up, that's it. The difference between who I am as awareness and what I have as a story, as an object, as a condition, as a situation. So we have this opening into a larger sense, not held down by the narrow cause and effect relationship, the rational analytic, the polarity at the level of the mind, but open into possibility, realizing that life can bring a game changer at any point. That's what we were playing with during the meditation, was what would it feel like to have that one thing that right now seems elusive, and as if I don't know which way to go or how to get it, how to engage it, realizing that that's available right here, right now, the minute that I am on my own behalf. See, part of what keeps us from having what we think of as the reality that we were wanting is our self-judgment. And that self-judgment often shows up with what we think of as the inner critic. There's a kind of story about the inner critic. I believe it gets installed early on when we're 2 or 3 or 5 years old, and we realize that mommy and daddy don't like it if we don't eat all of our dinner, right? And so we start to remind ourselves within our own mind, eat all of it. You better clean your plate, because we don't want the external judgment or what is experienced by the child as criticism from the parents. So that's the beginning of the installation of the inner critic. And then it just has a lifetime job at that point, right? It's like, and there are certain ways in which we experience it as keeping us out of trouble. But the truth is that that inner critic is underpinned by a frequency of fear. And so what we're wanting to create is curtailed by that frequency. So what we're doing now is looking at what is it that I'm wanting, right? What would it feel like if I had it? And to notice if something comes up inwardly in our own mind that suggests that we're not good enough or that we don't matter. So that's a big part of what happens when we believe we're manifesting something on the outside and it doesn't happen. We haven't addressed what is a frequency of fear that's represented by the inner critic, the inner judge, the one that's always criticizing you. The one that at night when you try to go to sleep just decides now it's my turn, right? Front and center, I can do this. What we do with the technology that we use in this Sangha, which is called the 6 Steps to Freedom process, is that we allow the inner critic, the early wounding, what got installed, to be brought into the light so that we can see it. And in that seeing, begin to have an experience of who I am, to begin to have an experience of awareness shining on that early conclusion. which was unavoidable for that 4-year-old or that 6-year-old or whatever. So what we're talking about is beginning to identify with the light of awareness, to use that light to dispel what got concluded, which has created this entire Netflix series of our lives. And from that place, from that place, start to be awake, aware, present, here, now, alive. Right? And that's the frequency that begins to create a new heaven and a new earth. So with that, we can open the floor to anybody who wants to do the 6 steps, to anybody who would like me to hold forth on some topic that